How long these things can. Oh, there you are.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening to this broadcast. Hi, this is Barbara Ellison, and you are listening to Barbara and Friends on a Mission show. For myself, you know me, you've probably heard it before, and if you haven't, what my mission is. I am on a mission to make happiness the norm rather than the exception. And the thing is, part of happiness is having influence and impact and being able to earn income, because I want people to be able to live happy, healthy, financially free, abundant lives. And the thing is, so often we think that happiness is a fleeting thing, but it's not. It involves everything from your influence, your impact, and also your income. So I work with heart-centered entrepreneurs to tweak the personality of their messaging so that they can connect, that they can attract their ideal audience. But you know what? That applies to business, but it also applies to your family, to your loved ones, to your parents, to your children, to your teammates, anybody around you, because personality drives reality. So that's what this show is all about, of just teaching how to have happy, healthy, financially free, abundant lives. And I am so excited to bring you our guest today, Laurie Holmes, and she is a certified clarity coach. And you know what? That's one of the biggest things that after David passed away, I had to have clarity of who I was and what I wanted to do. And you know what? That is sometimes hard to find out, because right at that moment, I had no idea. And it is through people like Laurie who have helped me over these years to find out who I was, what I wanted to do. So, Laurie, thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Barbara. I'm so excited. I've been kind of waiting for this moment for us to connect. And, in the background, I was kind of like, oh, I hope it's happening today, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so I'm glad to see that we finally are here on the air and I can share with your listeners my story, or at least how I got to be what I'm doing now.
And it is so important for us to hear other people's stories, because so often I truly believe that the devil just tries to keep us thinking that we're the only one that is going through what we're going through. And it is absolutely not the case. And when people can hear other people's story of success, but also not so much success. Like I look back on the last 10 years since David passed away, I've had some really good mountains and I've had some really low valleys. Oh, brother, that I look back on and go, oh, yeah, I was not thinking back then, or I was not thinking yesterday, for things that we do. So, Laurie, tell us a little bit about you. How did you get to become, and why did you become, a clarity coach?
Well, the journey for that really began about 40 years ago.
Okay.
And I had was in a very troubled marriage. I was in my early 20s. I was having, two boys when I was young. Would I say that funny? I was 22 and 24 when they were born. So within the 5 years that I spent with their dad and his alcoholic behavior, which
Oh,
I found very
yeah.
difficult to deal with. And he wasn't just like my dad was when he would drink, kind of like the happy drunk.
Mm,
He was a mean drunk. And so that affected our relationship when,
right.
he would take it out on me if he got upset
Oh,
about something.
yeah.
And especially when I was pregnant. I remember him hitting me one time when I was pregnant on my legs. And it just felt like some unforgivable thing that I could not tolerate. It's
Mhm.
like the yelling was bad enough, but when it was a lashing out and actually hurting me,
Right.
I didn't know how to deal with that. I was young and I'd already dealt with my mother being bipolar through my young years growing up. and she died still bipolar when she passed at 70.
Mm,
So I dealt with a very dysfunctional family unit, and yelling was kind of a way that they communicated with each other when they weren't doing other stuff. And so I didn't like the feeling inside myself when I would be around angry people.
right.
And I had a way of suppressing it. And I did back when they would kind of coin the phrase, um, now I've forgotten the name of it, but it's kind of like you're being saying mean stuff, but it's coming out in different ways.
Mhm. Yeah,
And so I did that because I didn't know any better. I didn't understand.
yeah.
But I knew something inside me was saying, you need to get out of this situation. And around the time I was 25, I I went back to like friends that I knew back in Pennsylvania where I'd gone to high school and college, the last 2 years of high school, the first 2 years of college. And one of those guys just happened to be somebody that I had had a long crush on, even while I was married, even though nothing
Mm,
happened. I had still wanted something to happen with that relationship, and it never did. But he introduced me to something called the S training. And
oh,
at that
okay.
time, I was absolutely clueless. When I say clueless, clarity was the farthest thing from my mind
Mhm.
because I was reacting to everything that was going on outside me and
Right,
blaming everything that was happening to me.
right.
And so I was not in a place where I could see things clearly.
Mhm.
And the times when I did, it was like I call it spirit, higher self,
Right.
loving presence, whatever it would say things like, get out, like, duh. If you can't
Mhm.
be in that situation, then get out of it. And that's what allowed me to leave him 5 years into the marriage with my two very young boys, who were like 1 and 3 at the time,
Wow.
and then
Yeah.
rushed back into the fire, which was my parents. So, not the best situation for any of us,
Right.
right? And so it was a caustic kind of relationship because it had a lot to do with not listening. I
Right.
didn't listen to my ex. Parents didn't listen to each other. I didn't listen to them. And so how can you have
Mhm.
a relationship with somebody you're not listening to? And
Right. Good
very
question.
challenging, right?
Mhm.
Well, there I was in this separation from my ex, and my ex-boyfriend from high school said, I think you should do this training. Now, I had no idea what it was. I had no idea what I was going to listen to. But because I liked him and I trusted him, I did it. But one of the things he said to me, which never went away, now he's since passed away, December of 19, I believe he passed away. And I think he was 64 at the time. And it was very tragic. He died in his sleep, found out that he had Parkinson's and
Mm.
other things
Yeah.
going on. And he was married. He was successfully married, had a beautiful wife. Matter of fact, I was kind of envious of her because she's one like also a massage therapist, which I've just done for the last 37 years.
Mm.
But I looked up to her like she had it all together, even though I had some skills. She just had this business savvy and just sense of herself that was real calming and beautiful. And I thought if he was going to marry somebody, that was like his perfect partner.
Right.
And he did. They finally did get married. But um, he told me about the S training, which stands for Earhart Seminar Training. So some of your listeners may have heard that term before.
Mhm.
It then became Landmark
Oh, okay. Landmark.
Education.
Yes. Several friends of mine are in Landmark.
But back in 1978, I would say it was probably, less than 10 years old at the time, give or take.
Hmm.
So the training had really taken off in New York and
Right.
San Francisco. And this was a New Jersey training. It was like one of the first New Jersey trainings. I couldn't get one in New York. And so they basically got me into the only one they could get me into. Of course, I had to stay in a hotel, and I was nursing my son at the time,
Oh,
but I couldn't sleep. I was still
right,
nursing him at year
right.
old. So I had to leave him behind and basically pump milk while I was on breaks because it was so painful. The
Mhm.
S training was known for having very long sessions that would prevent you from going to the bathroom until they let everybody leave.
Oh, right.
And when you would go to the bathroom, oftentimes the lines were so long, especially the women's line, that I remember one time getting on the men's line because they let us go and get in the toilets
Yeah,
because they were using the urinals.
I've done that.
And I couldn't go. And I was too embarrassed to go, knowing the men were on the other
Other
side of the
side.
door.
Yeah, yeah.
I waited for hours to go and I couldn't go. It was so painful.
Yeah, and
So by the next break, I
yeah,
ran.
right.
I wanted to be
Of course.
first,
Yeah,
make sure I get.
yeah.
But my point in that is it was transformation.
Mhm.
It was all about finding out who we are,
Right.
living in the moment,
Yeah.
and not being attached to the stories that we live with,
Mhm.
think are us,
Right.
which really is created my now clarity coaching, what I call clarity laser coaching, because one process that we did back then allowed me to get a glimpse into a memory of when I was 6 months old.
Mm,
And
right.
that memory allowed me to see how much thought, thinking, and sensation really are the same thing.
Mhm.
We just
Right.
don't realize it.
Right.
And
You know,
if I
and
was feeling,
I think one of the things that so many people don't realize, and I think it's a good thing to bring up right now, is that from birth, and sometimes even before birth, but from birth itself till about 7 or 8, everything that happens goes in with
oh
no
yeah,
filters, with no
absolutely.
filter.
No, because
Everything
we
goes
don't
in
know what to call it.
because
We
there's
don't
nothing
have
there. We have no, right. There's no reference.
no reference for it. So when I was feeling the feeling of sliding in the carriage and
Right.
having my head get caught in the corner, I carried that with me forever.
Right.
I had a boyfriend one time that used to put his hand on the top of my head while making love to me. And it bothered the shit out of me because I had no idea he had pulled up that memory.
Right. Oh, right. Yeah.
Falling, same thing. When we went over the curb in the carriage, I hated the feeling of falling because that sensation would come up in my belly and rise up my throat. So I tried to avoid anything that might recreate those feelings.
Right.
So as I became, fast forward 40 years, and I had this three principles training, which I'm not going to go into a lot of detail right now, but it's where I did clarity training with a man named Jamie Smart. That's
Mhm.
where I became a certified clarity coach. It was then that I kind of put two and two together because what I kept encountering were people that were having issues in the present time
Right.
that I could obviously see while talking to them actually happened when they were babies.
Right.
And they didn't know it. They
Right.
didn't know
Right.
that there was a link to it.
Right.
And what I discovered was the link was the feeling.
Right.
The
That's
feeling is
buried in our subconscious.
yes. No. And so what I did was kind of like a guided meditation, if you want to call it that, because there's no other way to really describe it. And I take the sensation that they were feeling, like, say, around their heart, for instance.
Mhm.
because the heart area is usually representative of love
Right.
or lack thereof, the feeling of not being loved or not being lovable, usually. And so it usually shows up for me, it was heartburn. I had heartburn forever. I had stomach issues forever as a kid, not realizing that I was squelching all this stuff
Right.
until it started coming out. But when we put the hand on the area that we keep feeling stuff as we're even as an adult, that feeling is linked back to the moment in time. This is so fascinating to me now. The
Right.
moment in time that the decision was made when the child innocently believed there
Right.
was something wrong with them that needed
Right.
fixed,
Right.
whatever it was.
Mhm.
And so,
And it comes across as that they don't feel that they're enough.
well, always.
There's something wrong with me.
No,
What's wrong with me? I can remember doing that as an adult, even years ago. What's wrong with me that I can't get this? And that was the words that I was using. What's wrong with me that I can't get this? And it was some tech thing.
yeah.
What's wrong with me? And then it was, Barbara, stop. There
Mhm.
is nothing wrong with you. I had to physically talk to myself. Barbara, there is nothing wrong with you. Right at this moment, you just don't understand this particular thing that you're working on.
Right.
But until we can get to that point, we don't understand. We think there is something wrong with us.
Right. And so when I peel back, because
Yeah.
in my understanding of the way our minds work, it kind
Yeah.
of works ass backwards.
Right.
We think we are reacting to the outside world,
Right.
making us feel the way we do. It's actually the other way around. We're
Right.
reacting to our thinking feeling state in the moment
Right.
that might have something to do with the outside world
Right.
or not. But I remember sitting in a movie theater watching the Titanic movie with my son and his soon to be wife. And 45 minutes in, nothing's happened yet. I'm bawling. My son and his wife never wanted to go to a movie with me again. But it had nothing to do with the movie.
Right.
I was seeing a man that I had been in love with around that time had died. And I was experiencing that loss in that moment, had nothing to do with the movie.
Right. You just happened to be sitting in the movie.
I happened to be sitting in the movie and things are happening on the screen.
Yeah. The
My
trigger
mind starts going off in a
that you're
different
triggered.
direction.
Right.
And I'm boo-hooing like mad. And I can't explain it to them because they see it like movie must be causing your reaction.
Right.
That's what it looks like to us. We go and see a movie and it's scary. We react. We think the movie's causing the reaction. But if the movie had that capability, then every single person in the movie theater would have the exact same reaction for everything that happens.
Right.
And it doesn't.
Right. But it doesn't.
Everybody has their own reaction that has zip to do with the movie.
Right. That's what the other day we were some friends of mine and I, we were talking about just the stuff that's going on in the world right now. And I said, you know what? What's going on is it's neutral. It's neither good nor bad. It's neutral. It's how you're responding. For some people, this pandemic has been absolutely the worst thing ever. And yet on this side of it, for some people, it has been the best thing ever.
Yeah, because you're going to have a variety of responses.
And the variety of responses. And it has really solidified part of some of the things that I work with my clients is that, you know what? This is a neutral event. How are you going to handle it?
Yeah.
Are you going to let it go negative or are you going to look at the positive? What are you going to learn from it? Yeah. And that has been, but a tough lesson to learn from me. Tough lesson for me to learn.
And that's where clarity comes in, because it's with clarity that we make the best decisions for ourselves.
Right. Right.
When we're thinking crazy thinking, having
Right.
lots of crazy thinking going on,
Yeah.
and now we're making a decision based on that, in my opinion, because of my own experience, that never went well for me.
No.
Ever, 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 ever. But the minute my mind can settle down and quiet
Right.
and get reflective,
Right.
and my own wisdom can start coming through, it's like, oh gosh, the answer is always there.
Right.
We don't see it when we're looking in the wrong place.
Right. And
We're
you
always
just
the place
you
that
just said
creates
a mouthful.
the place.
You just said a mouthful. Thank you, because it is so true that when we get quiet, and we let so often we let our thoughts go all, and I always call it my little 3-step process of stop, wait, listen. And it's like the people that I have shared that with, stop. What are you doing? Stop. Now wait. Sit quietly. Breathe. Breathe. Take 3 breaths. And now listen. And the answer will come.
Yeah, because we all, even knowing as a coach,
Mm-hmm.
a client always has the answers. People think, well,
Right.
what the heck do you need a coach for?
Right.
Well, the reason you need a coach is because they don't see it.
Right.
That's
Right.
all.
Right.
It's like I'm sitting here having this conversation with you, and in the moment, whatever you're presenting is looking real to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so as long as you think it's real,
Mm-hmm.
the answer's not going to come to you.
Exactly. Exactly. When you let that upsetness, because we can't think with the rational up here. We have to think with down here.
We have to feel it.
We have to feel it.
We have to feel
Exactly.
it, and the feeling of anxiousness, worry, fear.
Mm-hmm.
With the heart, right? When we
Right.
feel from the deeper truth, then the answers that come through
Mm-hmm.
are always coming from our higher nature.
Right.
Always.
Right. So when you have somebody that first comes to you, I will, because like I know what I do with people. So I always love to hear what other people do with people that come to them, because we all need help sometimes. I mean, coaches, and like for myself, coaches have coaches. I have coaches because I'm working through things that it's like, okay, yeah, I need help with that, with my tech stuff and with some business foundational things. And because one of my favorite sayings is that we do not know what we don't know until
Amen.
someone can shed a little light.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I love, when I see the light bulb go on and somebody goes, oh, right, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can do that. Or, oh, I've never thought of it that way. And that one little spark leads to an enormous breakthrough. So what do you tell people when they first come to you that are struggling or with dealing with something? Tell us a tip or a strategy that you use. Okay. And we love when technology, they're okay. Yeah, you froze for a second.
Well, so did you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's something well, hey, that's why we love technology. So let's continue. Anyway,
So what happens when somebody comes to me, I know something for an absolute fact.
mm-hmm.
First of all, I know that whatever they're bringing to me isn't it.
Right.
And I also know that they're absolutely 100% okay, regardless of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in that foundation first, and knowing that the only job that I actually have is showing them the truth. But they have to see it for themselves. I can't tell it to them.
No.
So one of the ways I do that is kind of like I described earlier, is that through my laser coaching, I get them front and center with the lie that they've been telling themselves their whole life.
Right.
I don't have to, I already know what the lie is. The minute they open their mouth and they tell me what their quote unquote problem is, the lie is now revealed. And that lie began the minute they decided they were someone else other than pure, magnificent, whole human being. The minute they believed they were something else, they bought into the lie that they needed to fix something about them.
Right.
All I'm doing is showing them where that lie occurred.
Right.
So they can see it. And as I said before about how the mind works, it looks like it happened when mom or dad or incident or whatever happened to them.
Right.
Or didn't happen if they were left alone, abandoned, a parent died, whatever. They ended up in an orphanage. Whatever the story is that got built up around the circumstances, they then believed the lie about themselves
Right.
that looked like so once they can really, and I would say really, like really see that truth for themselves, then everything that they have created just, so how can that hold up when the truth shows up? How can any of that be so if that's the truth?
Right.
And I have seen people just have miraculous, like leaps. You talk about breakthroughs. Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
What a breakthrough is that when you don't have to carry that with you any longer?
Yeah.
You know? And so it's just the misunderstanding that keeps being paraded around innocently. And it is innocent. Let me clarify, clearly state how innocent it is.
Right.
We misunderstand.
Right.
You're not wrong or bad for that happening. You're just a child, a 2-year-old, for goodness sakes,
Right.
that makes up that they're not lovable or good enough or smart enough or anything.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Right.
Who said so?
Yeah.
Who made that true? And once they can own that in the sense of really seeing that it was never true.
Right. That it was never true. It was just a perception.
Never true.
Yeah.
Never,
Yeah.
ever. Can't tell you how many times I'll say never, ever, 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 ever true.
Right. Right. It's just in
And
the
it's like,
perception. Oh, I know as a kid, I always felt like that the attention, like I had a little sister and I always felt that I was number 3 of 4 girls. And I always felt that all the attention kind of jumped over me. The first 2 then jumped over me and hit Debbie. And I can remember being so angry with Debbie. I realize now that it was totally, number one, not her fault. And I missed out on fun times with Debbie because I was so mad at her. But it wasn't her fault. My parents were doing the best that they could do with what they had. with their programming. And
that's it. Like we're all in a
we're all
sense
programming.
programmed.
We're all
We're
programming.
all programmed from birth to believe bullshit. Nice French for that.
Yeah,
but
I
it's true.
understand. Yeah, but it's true. It's all in our belief. But you know what? The thing is that I have really realized yesterday I had the privilege of being interviewed on a podcast. And one of the things that Misty asked me was, what's your biggest accomplishment? And afterwards, and I talked about, the things that I do, but then afterwards I was sitting outside watching my dog play in the yard. And I was just sitting there, and just how you go over things in your brain. And I was thinking about, my greatest accomplishment. And one of the things that sitting in that moment, I said, one of the biggest accomplishments that I have done is that start the journey to find out who I am meant to be, what I am meant to do, and who I am meant to become to make a difference in the world.
Amen.
And that has been that I was willing to take that journey, because up until David died, I mean, I had been a wife, a mother, a daughter, a grandmother, I was this, I was that. But who was I within all of those labels? And I didn't know. And I didn't know when David died. I didn't know. And I didn't know how to find out. And that's when I got my first coach, because I didn't know how to do it myself. Because you can't go from anywhere with the knowledge that you have right now. You have to find out something different. Right. And that's where clarity coaches come in. So, Laurie, how do people get in touch with you? Because, for myself, I am not a clarity coach. I'm we can't be everything to everybody. I'm a personality coach. I'll teach you about your personality till the cows come home, but a little bit of clarity around that. But you actually do clarity work, not my forte. But you know what? You are. And so, how can people get in touch? How can people get in touch with you?
I'm on Clubhouse.
Okay.
I'm on Instagram.
Which is where we met. On Clubhouse.
Exactly. Yep. So I'm in a lot of places. And so I think people Googling me, I even Googled myself one time and found me. But I'm also, this is kind of funny, but there's also a porn star with my name too. And that's not me.
I haven't, there's a Barbara Ellison out there that she's a famous artist. And I went, oh.
So anyway, my point is, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm even in LinkedIn. I'm on Clubhouse. So other than that, my website is very simple, www.myname, Laurie, Laurie, Holmes, HOLMES.com. And you can see some of my laser coaching sessions on there to kind of give you an idea. I had a lady that sent me through my Facebook page, where I have my Powerful Clarity Illuminations coach thing. And I thought she was a scammer trying to sell me something.
Mm-hmm.
Get a lot of those messages. And she said, oh, I saw you on YouTube. And I racked my brain, because YouTube isn't something I do very often, and I don't have very many people watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And doing webinars, which I've done many webinars. And so people will find you if they really want to, is what I've noticed.
Yeah.
If they have a desire to work with you, because they get that what you're offering is something that's really something that they could use. Yeah. They'll find you.
And the thing that I always like to share with people is that you will hear the voice of the person that you're supposed to work with, and not necessarily the physical voice, but the message. Because we all say, you can put 10, it's like they always say, put 10 doctors in a row and ask them a question, and every one of them will give you a different answer.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you pick the one that resonates with you. And that's the same with coaching. That's why I love doing this show, because people will hear the voice of the person that they are supposed to work with. And sometimes it's me, sometimes it's my guest, sometimes it's somebody that I send them to. And that is all awesome, because you know what? It's getting out there. We all want to make a difference in the world. And let's make the world a better place. And let's all just do it together. And there's over 7 billion people on this planet. There is enough for all of us.
Amen.
There's enough for all of us to work with the people who resonate with our messages. And so that's why it is so important to get the word out. So Laurie, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm going to be putting your website in the show notes, and also a transcript of this, so that anybody can listen to it. They can connect with you, and find out what you can do. And so yeah. Any final words about something that you're excited about?
Well, this is what I wanted to leave everybody with, because you
Okay.
had asked me this earlier, maybe before we started the
Mhm.
recording. But what am I passionate about
Right.
to assist this world with? Well, one of the things I know for absolute certainty is that every single human being on this planet thinks that there's something that they need to fix on
Yes.
some level. And I know that's not true. I have seen myself go through health challenges in the last 2 or 3 years. So I know that's not true. And what I do know is that when they can get a glimpse of who they really are, their life takes off and everything becomes possible. So that's my 2 cents.
And such a great word of wisdom, because everything is possible. You just have to reach out to the helping hand that will help you do or be or become who you are meant to be. So absolutely, Laurie, thank you so much again. This is Barbara Ellison, and you've been listening to Barbara and Friends on a Mission show. Reach out to us. If you want to reach out to me, you can text me on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. You can just look us up and send me a direct message. You can email me at barbara@movingonmovement.com. And because it's all, I started my journey after my husband died, and it was like I had to move on. And that's where that moving on movement came from, that we all have to move on from something. And there's no shame in it. And there's nothing that you can do about it until you decide to move forward. So if that's you right now, reach out to us, either myself, Barbara, or Laurie. That would be great. Anyways, we'll talk to you soon. Have an awesome, awesome day, and wishing you a happy, healthy, financially free, abundant life. And it's out there for the asking. Bye-bye. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.